So when I was in Matthew 14, I stumbled across something that really touched me, and it's about the beginning of Matthew 14 is talking about how John the Baptist is locked up in prison, in Herod's prison, and Herod is afraid to kill him because he's a prophet. And so he wasn't going to kill him, he's just going to leave him in prison, probably to die in prison. But this woman came to him and danced for him, and he said, "I'll give you anything you want." And she said, "I want the head of John the Baptist." And so, because he made an oath to her, and he gave her John the Baptist's head, John's disciples ended up burying John's body, and they went and told Jesus about it. This is what I found that was interesting. When Jesus heard about what happened, he withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. Hearing of this, the crowds followed him on foot from the towns. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed the sick. So, even though he was probably going through it in his mind, Jesus was probably really upset because he's like, "Man, I just lost my cousin. These brood of vipers, they killed my cousin." Like, he's probably kind of upset, I want to skip over to he healed the sick, he was preaching to them, and after that, he multiplied a couple loaves and fishes and fed the 5,000. And after that, immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. And you know what I get out of that? Is that he went up and prayed because, he was probably heavily burdened. He knew that this was the will of God, that this was going to happen anyways. But even though it still hurt him, because that's his cousin, that's his family right there. And so it probably deeply burdened him. And he just went up and prayed to God. And I don't know what you're going through, but sometimes we just need to cast our cares upon God, because he does care for us. And he is there, and he's looking out for us. And it says, "Come to me, all who all are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And so I don't know what you need rest in. I don't know where you need God to show up in. But sometimes you need to go to that secret place. You need to go to that private place and just reach God. And just go dwell in the presence of God and just cast your cares upon him. Because he says, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." And so I don't know what you're going through, but the best thing to do for me, sometimes even when I don't understand, is just cast all my cares upon God, because he cares for you. He cares for me. After he got done praying, this is what it says. Later that night he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid." And Peter said, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat and walked on the water and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was terrified and began to sink, and cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" When they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." When they crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret. I don't know how to say that, but it starts with a G. That's what I seen that, and I'm like, man, you know what? Even Jesus went away many times and prayed in secret. And I don't know what your situation is. I don't know what your storm is that you need God to still and calm. But if you're like Peter, focusing on God and like Jesus and going to pray and not focusing on the storm, don't focus on the storm, because it will make you start to doubt. It will make you start to fear. But keep your eyes on Jesus, because when Peter took his eyes off of Jesus and started looking at the storm, he immediately started sinking, and immediately took away his faith. And I don't know what you're going through, but don't focus on the storm. Focus on Jesus. Stay in this word. Stay in prayer. And seek the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And all these things shall be added unto you. And I hope this blessed you like it blessed me. It was a really good little devotional. And I hope you have a good one. And God bless you.